course, I am a little bit stressed, but you gotta always take these. Like I've always said, you have to take this as an opportunity, and you have to stay still. And every time you have something that's starting to stress you out, you have to get relaxed and do it and understand it. A lot of things going on in the world right now. Yeah, I'm just going to take a minute here to intro the show, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Today we have William Constantine coming on the show, and I'm going to give more of a description, talk about his bio and who he is here probably in the next 20 minutes or so before we introduce him. But he is going to be coming on the show and talk about how to stand up to bullying without losing your personal power. And I'm looking forward to him talking about that, because obviously how to handle bullying without losing your personal power. That's something that I lived with a good majority of my life when I was growing up, is bullying, and a lot of us have had to deal with that. It's always something that is being bullied about, and I've even found some of the more popular kids were bullied in some level. And so, it's that's a good subject to talk about. So we're gonna really enjoy having William on the show, and him and I have some mutual friends, and he used to live here in Tampa and now lives in New York. So we'll be right back after this song, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy the show.
I was once a boy gaining negative ground in a middle-class, rainy, one-horse town. I had to run, had to get away. I was trying to find a reason, find a safe way down, with my tires in the mud, my head in the clouds. The world was spinning, I was trying to be found. Write our history in the soles of our shoes. We're not running, we got nothing to lose. Each breath, each step, a snapshot of life. Dust off your souls and make for the light. Guess we'll see you later, we're no next big thing, but you won't find a word or phrase, 'cause we are walking the whole damn way. Scribble words on paper, try to write our way to dreams. Better that than your box, yeah, we're walking the whole damn way. Write our history in the soles of our shoes. We're not running, we got nothing to lose. Breath, each step, a snapshot of light. Dust off your souls and make for the light. Guess we'll see you later if our legs don't give, pounding pavement on our way to a life less lived. Yeah, we are walking the whole damn way.
That was my friend Landon Morgan and Manny and their band Manic Expression that are locally here out of Tampa. I met them through a coffee shop called Sacred Grounds, and a lot of our musicians come actually out of Sacred Grounds. Friends I've met throughout the years here in the area that are local musicians. So they actually went on a walking tour from Florida to New York over the summer. And I think actually they left in June, and they finally made it about a month and a half ago, I guess. So it was quite the adventure for them, and they walked with their guitars and performed along the way in local coffee shops and bars to make it. And so, anyways, it was just an interesting adventure they went on. So. Anyhow, so there was just some things that I just wanted to cover today before we bring William on the line. And when he's talking about the subject that he's going to bring up today, how to handle bullying without losing your personal power. Of course, I want William to highlight most of this, but there's a lot of that going on in the world with bullying, and one of the things that helped me realize a lot about that subject is that a bully, I've found, has never been secure with themselves. I've never found a bully that was so confident with themselves that they do it just because they're so, for that reason, because they have everything in life. And I found almost every single time that the bully feels a lack inside of themselves. There's an insecurity, and that's the reason why they feel the need to do that. I don't even know if they consciously know what they're doing most of the time, because it's just a part of their character makeup, and, well, a part of their paradigm. I don't It's something that they can change, because a lot of times with kids, they grow out of that. And when I look back, I mean, there was times even when I was a bully, and even as an adult, sometimes, I would my way was the right and everybody else's was wrong, that kind of stuff. But the bully is usually the one that's picking on the little things, and to feel better about themselves. And 9 times out of 10, my mom used to say the bully is always the coward. If you stand up to them, that they don't have any power over you. And I never really got that, because of course when you're being bullied and your feelings are being hurt, you just want it to stop. And but they're bullying you, and you stand up to them, or you, not necessarily to fight back, but just to say, that this isn't, you're not going to tear me down. And so if they don't have any power over you, then they lose the sensation of whatever they're gaining from bullying you. So it's just something to think about. But there's more than just bullies in school. There's bullies everywhere. And there's bullies on the road that get mad at you for doing something on, in traffic. There's bosses that are bullies, employers that are bullies. There are there are bullies that are our police department. There are bullies that are just normal people on the street. There are bullies in the clubs that you go to, the restaurants you go to. I mean, they're virtually everywhere you go, because it doesn't just have to be with kids; it's adults. And we think of that as being, a lot of times I just thought about that being as in school, but they're actually everywhere. And there's different forms of bullying. The people that abuse their wives are bullies, and they're even if it's verbally or physically. So yeah, I'm very excited about this topic, because we did a something last year called a Take Power, Speak Out at Sacred Grounds, and worked with the local Gleason, and it was it was along with the whole movement of it's going to get better, so that we could give an outlet for kids and people to come and talk about the times that they were bullied, and speak out against it, and say we're taking our power back, and and these are the things that I did to do it, and I don't have to live like this anymore. And so it was a movement that we had created last year, and haven't necessarily followed up on it, but it was a good movement that we did. We did a show last year for it. Couple of announcements. On the 31st of December, we're going to be doing a live show at Sacred Grounds in Tampa, and we're going to have several musicians and spiritual teachers on. And if you're listening to this and you're a spiritual teacher, if you would like to, or just want to have something to say on that day, I can schedule time for you to come in live if you live in Tampa, and if not, you can call in on the phone, and we can have you in on the phone. And so, I'm looking forward to having a really powerful show. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to noon. I'm going to broadcast longer than I normally do. And the reason being is because we're going into 2012, so I want to have music and stuff to celebrate. I think 2012 is going to be a very great year. I felt 2011 was the master year. This was the year for us to get it. And 2012 is this starting to transition. We've been transitioning in 2011, but you haven't seen anything yet. So it's either you're going to get it or you're not going to get it. And I don't think anybody's in a wrong place. It's just that's, you're either going to be awake or not awake. And if you're not awake, then you go back for the next cycle. And so it's just I'm really looking forward to 2012 and all the things that have come, because 2011 has been exciting, exciting, exciting. I mean, it's had its challenges, and I have some of those challenges going on right now, but um, it's really shown me a lot of beauty as well. And it's the challenges I'm going through right now. It's been one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, to watch the community around me just totally come and be there. And it's everything I've ever wished for. It's everything I've been working towards. 5, 6 years ago, when I started the Lamplight Group, the whole goal for me was to create community and to help empower people. But I didn't want to, yeah, and I didn't want a community of people just working, and being upset. I wanted a community of people that are empowered, hence the name the Lamplight Group. And that's the whole purpose of this show, is to have people talk about the soul, but also to build a bigger community. And so William's calling in from New York, and now we're going to make a soul connection from New York to Florida, and to whoever's listening. We got listeners in Australia, and we've got listeners in North Carolina, and so that's going to connect William and me and the show and the station and everybody to people, whoever's listening and whoever listens to the podcast. That's building a community. And so, the dream is happening, and that's what's exciting. And I hope you guys are getting really excited about it, because that's what this stuff is all about. It's not about my old pursuits of money. It's not about whatever you were pursuing before in the material world. It's about souls connecting to souls. And so, in that sense, that's what I really think is missing, and that's why I think we have bullying in the world. Is that because our souls aren't connected, and we're not in balance, we're not centered, and we're operating from our insecure state. And so if we're operating from the fact that I don't have enough, and we're operating from the fact that I don't have enough time, and that I just don't have. And my mom used to tell me that the have-nots are always mad at the haves. And so and right now we're really showing that in the world. We're showing that people are upset because they think that other people have, but they don't. And the reality is that they have everything. Nobody's oppressed them except for them. They are the oppressor. And so that's what bullying to me is I can't be bullied unless I allow it. Yeah, there are places, times when physical abuse comes and you can't prevent it because of the situation you're in, but you don't have to allow it to happen ever again. And yes, there's times when that bullying actually causes people to be hurt and they're no longer around. And so that's one thing that we can talk about today. And I'm gonna ask William, is that can we see these signs before they ever come up? And so we're gonna be back after this song of Stephen Garrett. It's called "Rescue Me." And then we're going to do one more segment that we'll be bringing William on around 10:30. And actually, that's not true. We'll be bringing him on around 10:36. So I'll be talking to you guys soon. I'll be right back. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about William before we bring him on the line on the next segment. His bio is: William Constantine is an empowering new thought leader, helping people transform their lives by realizing that everything they could ever want, they already have, to get out of their own way, to release fears, doubts, anxieties, to break free of the human conditioning, thoughts, and beliefs that no longer serve them, and to surrender to infinite intelligence within them. For over 10 years, Constantine has been counseling scores of people across the globe by helping people create a renewed faith in themselves and their potential, truly helping them understand that it is their conditional beliefs often impressed upon us and not of our own creation, that are causing them to think, act, and be the person they are in this moment. Constantine offers a way out and a process through which people can change their conditioned belief system. Constantine himself is no stranger to struggle and adversity. In fact, his life has been filled with every negative facet of the human experience: abandonment, malnourished, a drug addiction, or drug addicted mother, abuse, molestation, divorce, homelessness, etc. Yet he has learned a way to turn negatives to positive and to allow them to empower him instead of disempower. He teaches people about universal laws and the nature of energy and how it pertains to them, literally how they can be used to transform their lives. He believes that many don't get ahead of the game because they have been conditioned to come to expect the same results they have been getting, which ultimately attracts the same results they have been getting. William teaches about the power of affirmations and the meditation and how to utilize them to create more healthy, peaceful, abundant life. Having appeared on CNN, HLN, Nancy Grace, ABC News, and more, he makes a great interview or expert panel guest. Constantine is an ordained minister of metaphysics and currently holds both bachelor's degree in metaphysical science and metaphysical practitioner's diploma. Um, he just sounds like a really good guy, and and a very very empowering individual, which I love on the Soul Talk show because I love people that have taken themselves from a place that we're all at and maybe in a disempowered state, and then they empowered themselves and recreated their life and reshaped their life, because that's what I've done and many other people have done. And the reality is that we don't have to live like that anymore. We can change it. We don't have to be in that state of being a victim. We don't have to be in that state of feeling less than it. We might fall in there even when we are empowered at a state, but those are just opportunities to get even stronger in it. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to William here in a few minutes. Contact information for William, and we're going to talk about this again at some point on the show as well. His website is www.drwilliam WILLIAM Constantine CONSTANTINE.com, and you can also reach him at his toll-free number at 877-676-2646. This is these are the things that we can really look forward to, guys. It's not just people out there talking this is people that are actually living this. They're literally taking their lives and changing them. And they're going, and the last probably 4 guests on the show, from David Beck and to Nancy Baker and Lisette Larkin and all of them, they've all come from a place of I wasn't in a good state in my life and I've changed it. And so you don't have to live in a life of hurt inside of yourself anymore. You can let go of all that, understand it, transmute it from love or from fear into love, and really change your world. And this is where our lives, we have to make a choice: fear or love. And so that's the most empowering thing to do for yourself. Change your life from fear into love. Are you going to live your life totally afraid that if you make the wrong decision that you're going to lose everything, or paralyzed, sitting in your house, not doing anything? Or are you actually going to get out there and experience it and face your fears and transmute them every single time from fear into love? I had a terrible fear of speaking in front of people. And I jokingly tell people at speeches that when I was 17, I had to give a speech because I was the vice president of my school club, and I ended up peeing my pants. Thankfully, it was dark in the room, and it was a speech at a hotel down in South Hillsborough County in Florida, and I quickly got myself to my table, and then I didn't have to have everybody see it. And now I'm a public speaker. And so there's no amount of crowds of people that make me nervous when I stand up in front of them. And, so these are things that as we face our fears, it gets better each time. My dad asked me how do I write the other day because I didn't get the greatest of grades in school when it came to English and grammar. And I said, Dad, you just got to keep on doing it. You got to keep on doing it. And you got to keep on doing it. And I said, also, that's what editors are for. And I write the book, and then they go and they edit it for me. And but if we were paralyzed by all the things that we think that we can't do or we have to have before we get there, if I would have said I needed a vocal coach before I start giving speeches, or I need to be able to do this at home before I actually do it, I would have never done it. I would have just sat there and continued to do it. So we can honestly be our own bully too, because we hold ourselves back more than we hold other people hold us back. And so, these are just really things that everybody wants to start thinking about. If you want to be in a place in your life, then stop sitting in one space and do what you can right now in the moment. And I personally don't think that life needs to be hard. If it's so much of a struggle that you're pushing upwind, if you're pushing upriver, you might want to rethink it. Is this fear or love? Or is this not time right now? Is this not divine timing? So if you want to be anything, let's say that you want to go out and open up a store and it's going to cost $100,000 to start this store. Maybe you'll start in a flea market as opposed to having the storefront in the shopping mall. Or maybe you'll just start with selling stuff online and build a website, a very simple website. And say, with our ministry, we started off with just doing videos on YouTube. And we're still doing videos on YouTube. And other projects are now starting coming, and radio shows are coming. And so things just keep on building up. And what happens is the universe just starts to graduate you to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And the more you say yes and let go, and that's the key word, is the more you let go of doubt, the more it flows in. And so, I'm really excited here. We're wrapping up this segment here. But these are the things that I really want you guys to start thinking about over the next 2012 and going in from the last part of 2011. Write the things down that you want to accomplish this year. Seal it up in an envelope, and at the end of next year, look at it. What is it you want to do? Where is it you want to be? And stop thinking about it and wishing for it, and get really still in the moment, and just say, if this isn't my divine plan, it will happen in divine timing and divine order, and then start acting on opportunities. I see a lot of opportunities for people, but then they pass them by because they still got that idea in their head of the way it should be. And they're missing out on life because the journey is the richest part of what you're going to be doing. So that's my thoughts that I want to leave you guys with before we end this segment. Also, I have one more of the Dealing with Difficult People, A Gateway into Enlightenment by Lisette Larkin. I had a couple of people email me over the last couple of weeks, and I haven't mailed them out yet, so bear with me. But there's one more copy. If you're interested in it, email me at my email at jmcdonald1974@gmail.com, or email me on Facebook. Or at the Soul Talk website, there's a way to email me on there at soultalkradio.org. And if you email me there and with your address and everything, I'll mail you the book that Lisette gave to give out. Okay, guys, and we're back, and I have William on the line, and we gave his introduction here on the last segment about his bio and his website, and ways to contact him. We'll be bringing up the contact information throughout the show, so. If you didn't catch it before, then I'll be bringing it up again. So, good morning, William. How are you?
Good morning. I am wonderful. A little chilly up here in New England, but everything is wonderful.
Nice. So, are you ready for the holidays or tomorrow?
Yes. We're actually having a Christmas party later on today, so we have the turkey in now. Everything is smelling good in the house.
I saw that you're making apple pie and stuff like that.
Yeah, I made light pie yesterday and a whole bunch of other good stuff. So we've been nonstop cooking. So
usually I'm like that every year. This year I'm just gonna relax. So.
Yeah, well, what the funny thing is I love to cook, right? I went to culinary school. I love to cook, but you do all this work and preparation, and then it's gone in a flash, and that's really where I believe that the whole purpose of it is, to gather family and loved ones around food and really create new and exciting memories and traditions, and really be able to use food as the connector to be able to gather your family around.
Yeah, I agree. That's always a good time. So, we were just talking about just before we came in the line. This is a subject that's a passion of mine, bullying, because of course I was bullied growing up as a kid, and I don't necessarily think bullying has to do with just kids either. I think it's around us everywhere. So, how did you get on this subject about bullying, and where? Because I noticed on your website this is a workshop that you actually give on a consistent basis as well. So.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Like, I've been bullied in a lot of different ways. I was always sort of socially an outcast. And I think when you talk to the other side, or you just think differently, people tend to bully you because of that. Sometimes if your lifestyle is alternative or different, you tend to get prejudged in a lot of ways, and that was always one thing that's always happened to me. And I can remember when I was adopted at the age of 7. When I got adopted from New York into Connecticut, and one of the funny things is kids would call me like adopted boy, and that was a way that they were in some ways just pointing out my difference, and in a lot of ways bullying. But the thing that I learned to realize was that most of them were either having low self-esteem or had issues of their own, so they were acting out and usually taking it out on somebody that they felt was either less fortunate or somebody that was like an easy victim for bullying. But if you look at the large majority of bullies, they tend to either have been bullied by their parent or society in some way to think a particular way and to think that things aren't acceptable. Like, the vast majority of society now is coming to accept homosexuality or the goth crowd, or all these different, even the new age stuff is coming out in a way that you don't have to necessarily practice in private. You don't have to because I had plenty of friends that were Wiccan or pagan, and they always tended to practice either solitary or in a sort of a private setting. And that was sort of society bullying them by saying, look, this isn't acceptable, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that we need to learn to shift the perspective. And a lot of the things is as a bullied person, you sort of need to be able to know, okay, look, they're not necessarily attacking me specifically. They're attacking an aspect of me that they're uncomfortable with.
Right.
So then you need to then turn it around and say they're obviously not uncomfortable with themselves, but their uncomfortableness as far as to say we'll use homosexuality or something like that is typically due to their human conditioning, something that either they learn through society, teachers, parents, their family structure. And so a lot of them just need to raise their awareness as to how beautiful everybody is, and not just the one strict people that we're tending to grow up with.
Right. The ones that are in our comfort zone.
Right.
Yeah. That I was.
So, bullying is one of those things that it's always been sort of a passion, because I always was the defender of people that got picked on, even though I got picked on myself. But I always saw the greatness in everybody, and learning to, and I, even as a young kid, I can remember, well, what if that bully were to just try to find something about that person that they could appreciate, to focus on, instead of focusing on one aspect of that person? How would that shift the dynamic? Instead of, for example, homosexuality being the focus, what if they were to focus how loving or how giving that person was, or how understanding or empathetic, or and what if that was their focus instead of focusing on the negative? And from the person being bullied, what if they saw past the fact that this person was insulting them and so on, and saw through to the heart of the matter, which was, this person they lack awareness of what's really going on. So that's not their fault, that's society's fault for training them, and that's their human conditioning. So if you look beyond that and you say, well, what is it that I could connect with this person? Because a lot of times I find that the people that are bullying really lack a lot of friends. They may look like they have a lot of friends. They may, put on that facade that they're really socially connected and they love themselves. But there's an aspect of this person that is hurting even deeper than the person that's being bullied.
Yeah.
And so if that person being bullied can learn to hone into that and reach out to that person and, become friends with that person, then the world would be a much different place.
Yeah, I agree, and it's interesting when you were talking about if we just kind of rechange that focus and have them point out something good about that person. I was realizing that would start to heal them as well, the bully.
Right.
Because they're not looking at all the negatives, which is triggering something in them, but they're starting to look at the positives, and which is still a mirror back to them as well. So,
right.
And but of course we're not necessarily trained to do that in our society. We're trained to look at the negative.
Well, because it's easier, ever since when we come in with a beautifully clean slate, and there's absolutely no problems, and what happens is a process that I refer to human conditioning, which is, your parents maybe set up a set of beliefs, or society, your teachers tell you one thing. A popular thing is, you need to go to school to get good grades, to go on to college, to get better grades, to go and get a secure job in the workforce, or, with a degree. But there's a lot of people right now with degrees up out the wazoo that are unemployed. So does that system work?
No.
For some, but for others, it doesn't. Just like, the vast majority of people think that we're in this depression or recession or whatever they're calling it. And, people's personal economy doesn't have to reflect it. It's just a matter of we're trained to listen to the way that the media tells us, well, this is how the social economy is, and we tend to adhere to that. But the vast majority of millionaires made it, including the Kennedys, during a recession.
That's true.
So, you have to realize that there's opportunity everywhere. And, you have to see, strength in anything, in any circumstance that you can overcome.
Yeah, because they never gave up. They persevered. They believed in themselves, and and then this is what their life became.
Right. Well, and stop and think about it too. If you think about the social economy, right? As far as, say, we'll take keynote speaking for example. Everybody right now is looking for answers, right? So keynote speaking is on the rise. People that have answers, people like doing shows like yours, spreading knowledge and information about people that are out there that have answers and that are sharing their answers and knowledge. Their businesses tend to grow while others are declining. A, because that person is following their passion, and B, because people are looking for answers and people are providing it. So there's always ways to make it work. And the vast majority of people get into careers because they think that it's a good paying career and it's not necessarily something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
So society sort of, dictates that money is the ruling thing. But if people shift and follow their passion, the money will follow. It always does.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned that in my life the hard way because I pursued the money. But now that I'm pursuing my passions, I feel great about myself because I'm doing something. Okay, guys, so we're back, and I was asking William on the break about bringing up this subject. I was bringing up, how does the bully become the bully, and then how do we build and he was mentioning how we build our self-esteem up inside of ourselves so this doesn't affect us. And he was giving me a lot of good points, but I of course wanted to talk about it on air, so I'm going to turn it over to him so he can explain that to us.
Well, thanks. The first thing is the bully becomes the bully typically because they're feeling insecure about something in their life. And insecurities always come from a source, whether that's an experience that we've had, that we've had a particular perception of that, or maybe it's our unrealistic goals or expectations of our parents that we're choosing not to fulfill because maybe that's not our goals or aspirations. So a lot of parents tend to live vicariously through their kids and want them to do things that they didn't do themselves. And, and a lot of things is the bully tends to be bullied into being a bully. And because what they do is they try to sort of fake their security by building this mask of, of a persona that is bigger, better, and badder than anybody else around, and so they hone in on people that are weak. And how they do that is simple, because when you're thinking negative thoughts to yourself or you have a low self-esteem, you tend to carry your shoulders are down, maybe your head's down, you're not necessarily as talkative, your physical body tends to be very significant in sending off signals as to, hey, I have a low self-esteem. And a lot of people don't necessarily consciously process that, but we unconsciously process that. And this is how, women get into like a battered woman marriage or relationship, because men tend to prey on that. And for some it's just some heavier set women, for example, tend to have lower self-esteem, and their self-talk tends to be negative. Not all of them, because I've met plenty whose self-esteem is up there and they're upbeat and they're proud of who they are, and their weight doesn't really matter to them. But a lot of them it does matter, and so some men target in on that, and then they begin that sort of, well, let me beat you down and build you back up to who I want you to be type person.
Right.
So the first thing is the person being bullied needs to realize, who they are truly, which is a divine being with unlimited potential and a source of unlimited possibilities. And the thing is you forget everything that you've been taught about who you are, because you've borrowed everybody else's beliefs, right? You borrowed your parents' beliefs. Maybe you were you were raised a particular religion, and so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, all religions have been created by man to understand where our divine potential is coming from, and in a lot of ways, religion has also been created to control the masses. So one of the big things that we have to realize is that every source that we have, whether it's the movies we watch, the media that we watch, whether it's we watch the news or we read the paper or whatever, that all tends to be influencing our subconscious all the time. And so the first thing I always recommend to people is shift what they're surrounding themselves with. Because they say that the top 5 people that you have around you, you tend to be a direct reflection of them. So whether that's financially or emotionally or, so if you're a griper, you tend to hang out with a lot of gripers. If you're a police officer, a lot of your friends tend to be, police officers of that type of nature, and your salary tends to reflect, the vast majority of your friends. And, the thing is a lot of us want so badly to love and be loved, and, we fall into this sort of comfort zone where we lower our standards of ourselves, so that we're not really judging the people that are around us. Because a lot of us will see people that maybe don't necessarily live up to what our expectations used to be or whatever, and then so we lower that because we don't want to be in a position of judging, the people that we love and care about.
Right.
So the first thing is raise your level of standards and know that there's nothing that you can't attain. It's just a matter of you needing to shift and sort of realign your thoughts and beliefs, because what happens is when you do anything in life, it's based on first a belief, because that belief tends to make you take a certain action or not take certain action, and then you either get a type of result or you don't get that result. And so if you change that, and then it changes your actions or your outlooks, then you tend to be able to shift where you are in life. And if your self-esteem is low, you need to, I always wake up and say 5 positive things about myself in the mirror. Not to stroke ego, but whether it's I'm thankful for this, or I like the way my hair looked today, or I like this, or I like that. Because I think that a lot of people, when they look in the mirror, they start their day off by downgrading or degrading themselves by insulting themselves.
Right.
Their hair doesn't look good, or they don't like this about themselves, or women feel like they need to add on all this makeup and mask certain things about themselves, and you know, that's all nonsense. You know, you should wake up and be thankful and sort of go through a attitude of gratitude. And even if as you're brushing your teeth in the morning, you know, think about all the things you're truly grateful for, even if it's the toothpaste on the toothbrush, and being able to, you know, um, have that, because there's people in other countries that don't have that. And see, what we tend to do as a society is we tend to judge our life based on, say, a celebrity. Like, we'll look at Brad Pitt and we'll go, God, I really wish my life was more like his, or, you know. And the thing is instead of doing that, because that makes you feel like crap, you know, because you're like, I'm not achieving anything, da 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 da. What you need to do is flip that around and go, well, you know, there's people starving in Kosovo, but every day, you know, I have food on the table, you know, or every day I wake up, I have a roof over my head, or every day, you know, I'm able to, you know, spend time with loved ones, or I have loved ones, or, you know, like, for example, Christmas, you know, we're able to, I don't know, you know, whatever the situation is, but be grateful for the list of things that you have. If you have a car to drive, and so on and so forth. You know, a lot of people that come to me bitch and moan about their paycheck, for example, and I'm like, but what is that paycheck affording you? You know, and they say the bills, and I said, well, you know, what exactly is, you know, the bills, you know, represent? Well, it gives me, you know, the electricity, which gives me the internet, which gives me, you know, this, that. So then all of a sudden they're building a list of gratuities, basically, things that they're grateful for, you know, things that they love to have, and whether it's an apartment that they live in, or a house that they live in, or a condo, or whatever, you know, even if it's their car that they live in, a car is far better than nothing, you know. So no matter where you are on the social spectrum of things, you have to sort of change your way of looking at things, and always look at those that are less fortunate, so that you feel grateful for everything that you have in life. Because what happens when you do it the other way is you don't feel abundant. You feel like you're lacking. You know, you're just, you know, comparing yourself to people that, you know, have made it, and in your mind you're saying that you haven't, and that makes you feel less than. You know, so you always have to change your perception. It's always about perception first, you know, because that always stems from your belief system. So if your perception is off, you sometimes have to tweak a belief. And, you know, that's what I help people do through the reconditioning process and so on, you know. Because the good thing about all this human conditioning is it could be reversed, and you can always impress new beliefs and new thoughts in your subconscious. Because, I mean, how many of us have honestly, you know, driven to work, or gotten so busy, you know, maybe talking on a cell phone, and all of a sudden we end up at our destination, and we're like, you know, who was driving this whole time?
All the time.
Because we got there, but we didn't necessarily remember the trip. Well, who was driving was your conditioned subconscious. Yeah. And anything you do, like when you put your pants on in the morning, you don't necessarily think, well, I got to put this leg in here, and I got to do this, or I got to do that. But when you're brushing your teeth, or when you're eating, you know, because you're conditioned, you do it all the time, and through repetition, you've conditioned your mind to just automatically act. And, you know, 98% of what we do is controlled by our subconscious mind. So if we can impress things or beliefs that will serve our highest good and intention, then we shift the dynamic of our life.
Yeah. I think it's Bruce Lipton that says that we're 90% subconscious and 10% conscious, or I can't remember how he puts it. When we can change those conditionings, then we're, you know, you're changing your life. But even Jesus taught that: change your thoughts, change your life. So. So that's a pretty, I mean, you know, and it changes a lot of aspects of who we are. We can change our mindset from victim into an empowered person. And
right, and I mean, even if you looked in the mirror and you thought to yourself, you know, today's going to be a good day. I mean, most people wake up, and I don't understand how they do it, Jeremy, because I wake up in a good mood every day. I wake up, I jump out of bed, and I'm ready to go. You know, but I also wake up and I feed my mind. You know, I wake up and I, you know, maybe read something spiritual, or maybe I'll, go into a meditation. Yes,
Yeah.
after you just wake up, you could go into a meditation and come out, and then maybe then go into your routine of having coffee, and instead of reading the paper, maybe read something that will enhance your mind. Or, there's a movie program out there called the Spiritual Cinema Circle, and they have inspirational movies every month, like 4 or 5 inspirational movies every month that they release. And I think it's like, 20 or 30 bucks that you could go and you could get this, and it automatically comes to your house. You don't have to return it or anything. And you could build a collection of spiritually uplifting and inspirational movies. And even if it's stuff like maybe like What Dreams May Come or The Secret, or even if it's just audio programs that you're listening to. Most people listen to crap, and they listen to radio stations not like yours, where you're bringing on guests that really have new thoughts and help people make a shift in their life. They're listening to, radio shows that are all about the shock value, and they talk about things like Jersey Shore, or, just social nonsense that's out there, or they hype up the social economies, thing, and
Yeah, well, we're
you have
constantly
to really step back and look and go, well, if a lot of millionaires have made it in a bad economy, then how bad is it really? There's obviously some benefit to this, and how can I make this work for me? And most people it's just they're asking themselves the wrong questions. They're asking, what do I do, instead of how can I use this? How am I growing from this experience? And what beliefs do I need to shift in order to, ride this wave to a higher place, or, raise my awareness to be able to see the good things that are actually happening right now.
Yep. And you have to look at yourself as being abundant and change that programming. Yeah, it's so funny because when you talk about the human condition, there was one day in meditation, my mind gives me these analogies, and I heard this like clicking in the back of my head, and I realized that clicking is a programming that cycles over and over and again until you see it. You can't change it, and then you change it by doing things like reading spiritual things and meditation and doing uplifting things and changing the people that you're around, and changing your environment. And so when you do that, I used to get up at the last minute, rush to work, rush into the shower, and now I get up in the morning at least an hour before I ever have to get up, and I sit with my dog with his head in my lap, and I meditate, and it changes my whole day.
Right. And you started off in a totally different way. I wake up and I wake up with the attitude of gratitude, like, hey, I'm thankful that my eyes opened that day, and I started that way. The moment my eyes open, I just take a deep breath, and I'm thankful for it. And then as when my feet hit the floor, hey, I can move today, and it sounds kind of corny in the beginning, but when you start being grateful for everything that you have, your life becomes abundant. And, instead of focusing on all the negative things, you tend to see all these positive things, and your life becomes rich in all these things that you may have taken for granted, even if it's like I'll wake up and I'll go to the bird feeder, and I'll, look at the bird feeder and see all the birds coming out, and, just the beauty and the colors that the birds have, and the sort of social structure that they have, and, sort of share alike, because you have all these different birds that come and will feed off of one feeder, and they share, and they take turns, and they, and it's about giving and being loved, and that's the whole thing that I see unfolding every day is love. It's if you were to wake up and say, how am I going to love today, and love the day, then it will change your whole outlook on how you approach the day.
Yeah.
Instead of waking up and, moaning and it's Monday, or I got to go to work and I got to do this, because then what happens is you're looking forward to the weekend, and anytime you're doing that, you're not following your passion, and you're following a broken system, because everybody really should be able to live and turn their passion into anything. A lot of people will tell me, well, my passion is animals. Okay, well, there's a lot of careers that you could do. For starters, you could actually, create videos online. If you want to be an entrepreneurial in the animal field, you could create videos online about training. How to train, I don't know, a cockatiel to talk, or how to groom your dog, or how to do this, or how to do that. And you can have a website that people could go to, and you can merchandise things, and you can grow it that way. I mean, it's just a matter of what you need to be doing. And then you could actually get into, maybe taking a tour of pet stores or veterinary offices and give lectures and seminars on, the importance of, I don't know, maybe the top 5 ways that, loving your dog, will change your dog's outlook on life, or,
right.
Whatever. But, I mean, there's just a lot of different things that you could do. I mean, you could change your life by following your passion. And that's really, people that make it in the world, they tend to be following their passion.
Yeah.
You don't hear Bill Gates moaning and groaning that he's got to get up every day.
No, as a matter of fact,
his passion, and he, made money.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he stepped down as the CEO and became the chief. What do you call himself now? The chief technology officer. Basically, he got to go play with his computers. so he gets to do his passion.
Well, and you also get to the point. Like, if you ask yourself, also one of the questions in the morning is, how am I going to give today? How am I going to contribute today? Because it's not. See, we're trained in a screwed up fashion. We're always about how can I get what am I going to get today? How's the day going to benefit me? But if we say, what can I do to contribute to the world today? What can I do to make a difference in somebody's life today? You start the day in a different way, and you're also able to come from a place of love and joy and inner peace. Because what happens when you take $5 and contribute to the Salvation Army when they're ringing their bells, is it shifts, it changes you. You suddenly feel like you're contributing. You feel, happy or joyous, or you feel like you've made a difference. And the more you do that, the more you feel that. And, even if it's, maybe you helped an older lady get something out of, off of a shelf, or maybe you grab something for a child, when you were, shopping or in the store. Maybe you saw somebody as you were coming out who was struggling carrying grocery bags, or, putting it in their car. But the thing is we've created a society that's totally fear-based. Because now, if you go to approach somebody and try to help them, they feel either A, you want money, or B, that you're going to hurt them in some way. Like we like even at work, now there's all these social policies of, sexual harassment and all this other stuff. And, I can remember at a time where you could go to work and you could, pat somebody on the back, or, be there for them if they were having a rough time, or, and give to them in a much different way. Now everything's all hands off, and you can't, you can't give somebody a hug without people second guessing the reason why you're doing it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that we have to change that back to the way it was, and that starts by changing your outlook, and so changing yourself first, and then just being a constant giver.
Yeah. This is a real quick. I just want to bring this up because we were talking about. It's funny, we were talking about how people pursue things, and really it's about their attitude. And I'm thinking about how there was a time in my life where I made a lot more money, but I didn't feel very abundant. And then my boss was actually a multimillionaire, and he didn't feel very abundant. And it was one of the funniest things I ever seen is that now I look at my life and I don't make nearly as much money, but I don't feel poor. We were just talking about. I was bringing up the point that I brought on the break about, or just before the break about. I felt there was a point in my life where I made more money, but I didn't feel very abundant. But now, I feel very abundant, and that perception. Of course, I had to go through. I jokingly say I had to walk through my emotional hell to get to this point, and finally make a choice. Well, what am I going to be happy or not happy? And so when I changed that, that's when I felt very abundant. Then William brought up a lot of good points about how people think money is evil and all that kind of stuff. And and I'm going to have him talk about that here in just a second. But um, to me, it's all about attitude. What attitude are you going to have? And are you going to be happy or are you not going to be happy? And so, you know, I don't know. You were bringing up some good points on the break, William, and I don't know if you want to share those here live. The things that we were talking about.
I mean, which ones did you want me to share?
We talked about so much. I guess about the attitude and about how we were, if we change our focus about, well, we can even talk about money. I mean, people think that money is bad, and it's so funny because in the psychic world, even psychics will judge, and people judge like Sylvia Brown for charging $750 for a reading. But I used to jokingly say, well, if somebody's going to pay for it, why are you so upset for her for asking for it? And
well, here's the other thing: if I were to, let's run it this way, if I were to run a free teleseminar, and you're a busy executive, right? And I were to say, well, I'm having a free teleseminar, and you might say, well, I really like that topic, and then you sign up. But then what happens is you tend to, well, you get busy with the day, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit, I got that free thing, and then all of a sudden you just blow it off because you didn't invest in yourself, and you didn't invest in, you didn't pay anything. So, a lot of people when they say, for example, in the psychic world, well, hey, you charge too much, or you're doing the work of God, you shouldn't be charging, you should be bartering or doing services or whatever. And, and a lot of people, what they're looking at it from sort of a negative perspective. They're looking at it and going, A, why are you charging, what you're charging? But they're not looking at, well, I see the value in it, because when you pay for something, you tend to listen more, and you also tend to, for the most part, either enjoy the experience or walk away with something of value because you've paid for it. And so a lot of people need to, really change their focus of how they look at money, and a lot of what we, that focus or attitude or, positioning that we have about money or fear of money all stems from a belief, system. And we tend to respond to any scenario or experience in our life based on our past conditioning and our past experiences. And then when we go through a new experience, we tend to go, okay, well, based on what I know already or what I've been through already, this is how I'm going to respond to that. Right. And we tend to not fully be present in the moment, and we also tend to, approach things with fear and apprehension, because I believe our comfort zone, when we get to the edge, most people go, this isn't normal, that, something bad lays on the other side of this. That fear that you get, or that anxiety that you get, to me says, okay, a new experience is on the outside of this comfort zone, and you can either step through and embrace it, or you can retreat back and stay in your comfort zone and really never grow. Because those that remain in their comfort zone never really challenge themselves to do new things or to be better people, and so it's sort of, the comfort zone is an excuse to not live life, and then what happens is a lot of people will get, maybe diagnosed with a terminal illness, and then all of a sudden decides to seize the moment because they've been diagnosed with death. Well, let me tell you, that diagnosis comes at the beginning of life. The moment you take your first breath, even before that, you're going through the process of dying. Yeah. So, why wait till the end of life to decide to go, oh, I'm going to live now? Live in the moment, and live every day, and live fully, and make a difference in people's lives, and it will build you up. And the more you give, the more you get. And as I was telling you during the break, the Bible is an interesting book. I mean, it's got a lot of great quotes, but it's also misread or taken out of context in a lot of ways. For example, Christ in the Bible tells people that we're all God and that we're equal unto Him, meaning Christ or God, and that Him and the Father are one, which basically saying that, we're all God energy. We're not, we're not individuals in that sense. We're all divine expressions of God's love.
Right.
And, and it's our ability to really seize that, because if you walk around and you go, I'm God, right? And you don't go into ego with that, but you say, what can I create today? How can I make a difference in, Jeremy's life? Or how can I, help, the homeless? Or how can I really contribute to my family? Or how can I, listen better to my spouse? Or how can I, love in a greater capacity? Or how can I, help animals that maybe are abandoned or neglected, or anything that will help you grow. Because anytime you're loving and you're expressing that and you're giving to others, then you're growing spiritually as a person, and you're growing abundantly. You just don't know it yet because you haven't necessarily allowed yourself to make that shift.
Right.
But that's really what life is about. I mean, and as far as price points with psychics, they're all over the board. I mean,
yeah,
I think George Anderson's like $1,500 or something, maybe $2,500. It's been a while since I looked him up, but and he justifies it because he says that, well, he's got overhead. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that, because they look at us like a church, that people come to us for answers, and we counsel them and so on, and that's true to a fact. But in church they pass around a donation jar that everybody gives to, and they get money, plus they get government grants and they get lots of stuff. Yep. So money is flowing abundantly to them through other avenues. But a psychic, a lot of times they need to have a storefront or a website or a this or a that, and they have overhead, and on top of that, it's also a business, and it's putting a value on something. Like when people complain to me about prices with mediumship, maybe, I say, well, how much, if I can connect you with your departed mother, how much is that worth to you? And some people will go, not a lot. I don't want to talk to her ever again, right? And then, so that's a different scenario. Then you have to get through them, forgiveness and the grieving process, because obviously something has transpired that's blocked them. But like I say, if you the absence of forgiveness means that you're also a victim of that, so you're holding yourself back because you haven't allowed to fully embrace forgiveness and release that person, but also release yourself. Because let's face it, there's prisoners on both sides of the spectrum if forgiveness isn't there. Right. But the other person will say, well, if you could connect me with my departed mom, that would be worth no amount of money in the world. I mean, it's just a priceless value. And that's where you're like, well, okay, well, I charge $350. Is that a price point that you're willing to pay? And a lot of people, it is. It's a value. And then you also have to look at, credentials or credibility. A lot of people that maybe want, plastic surgery. Do they go and then barter with the doctor? No. They go and they look for a doctor that is really good at what he does, and they pay the price, that the doctor's asking. But with psychics, people think that they can haggle. It's like this thing that you get. Well, I have a loaf of bread. Would you take that instead of, $350? I don't know. Is that worth, that? And, a lot of people, like, I'll work with people on pricing, and I at one point had a layaway plan and different things that I have tried out to try to help people, because it's really about helping people. But it's also not necessarily about taking away the value, because when you value your reading, you're saying, well, I don't really know if I'm at the caliber of what I'm charging. And, most psychics need to have a better price point or a better value for themselves. So, people can actually say, well, it is a little bit high, but the experience was worth it. Plus, let me tell you, when people pay $350, A, you've just weeded out all the skeptics in the world, and B, they're listening to what you're saying, and they write down everything, and they get the messages that you're delivering. And if you tell them intuitively not to do this, they listen. And if they don't, they go, well, I should have listened to you. But you have the person's attention at that point. But the thing is, people that want a lawyer, they go out for the best of the best, and they find them. Sports and athletes, it's the other thing. We don't have a problem paying a ticket for a game, which goes to the salary of an athlete. Now, do I think society's a little screwed up that we pay our policemen crap and our soldiers crap, and they put on they put their life on the line every day, and our teachers are underpaid for what they're doing? I mean, they're educating the future. There's a value to that, and when we're thinking price points, we don't think value first. We think, well, what's the cheapest way I could get away with this?
Right.
And then we put the price point. But do we really want to suffer with that aspect? No. I mean, we want teachers that bring value and enrichment to a student's life, and that value each and every student that are willing to go above and beyond the call of duty, because they realize that their highest purpose is to educate the future, that they're making a difference by educating this one individual. Yep. But now what we do as a society is we educate the masses. We say, well, the classroom's, 20, 30 people, and these are my students, and the teacher educates all of them. And if somebody's behind, you don't get a lot of that one-on-one that you used to get way back in the day. Everything we've traded value for convenience, and we pay our teachers crap, for the work that they're doing and the higher calling that they're answering. It's nuts the way that.
Then so we're back, and we were talking. It's so interesting because almost every person I have on the show, we talk about we have different subjects that we talk about, but all comes down to how, William brought up a really good point about how you value yourself, and if you don't value what you're doing, when we were talking about the psychics, if they don't value what they're doing, how do they expect everybody else to value? And what are some tips, maybe, William, that you have? I mean, obviously, you brought up a lot this morning. We brought up, getting up in the morning and being grateful, and wherever you can be of service, and saying good things to yourself because you have to. What are some other things that people can do that can help them value themselves? And I don't know if maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, sure. I mean, the first thing is wake up with the attitude of gratitude. Wake up each and every day that you're thankful that you're alive and that you're breathing, and know that you're a contributing factor to the world, that the world at large is not the world without you in it. Okay, so you have to realize that you're making an impact, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. That's all depending on your perception and the way you react to your experiences. Now, the other thing is create a clear vision for yourself. Know what it is that your goal is, what your aspiration is, and then ask yourself, is what I'm doing or is how I'm living aligning with that vision? And if it isn't, make some changes. Align what you're doing in life, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions, all based on, that vision. And you'll get there. The other thing that people could do really is take up some type of set time aside to meditate, or, maybe some people like, William, I can't meditate. Now, I tend to argue, but, then do something that you like, whether that's gardening or, going for a walk or spending time with your dog, or, spending time with just you and your spouse, or maybe it's going fishing or doing, whatever it is that really gets you in the divine moment where you feel totally alive and vibrant, because most people, we tend to walk through life with those blinders on, and, we're looking for this outward experience in the external world, and instead of realizing that it's our internal experiences that cause our external experiences. So if we shift that all around and we realize that by constantly improving our spirituality, and I'm not saying necessarily religion, but by maybe reading inspirational books or watching inspirational movies, or maybe start the day off by complimenting yourself. Say 5 good things about yourself. 5 things that you really like about, or think about 5 experiences where you feel like you've made a difference, or 5 experiences where you feel, love and joy from those experiences. Maybe it's the certain people that you have, and your day will start off in a different way. You'll start off more amped up about the day. The other thing is do something for yourself. Don't. A lot of people tend to be hesitant. Like they work all week and then they're like, well, I don't have enough money for this, or I don't have enough money for that. Well, you're never going to have enough money if that's your thought pattern. But if you swipe the card instead of being hesitant. Now, I'm not saying buy a $2,000 thing that you can't reasonably afford at that time. I'm saying if you maybe want a massage, or you want something, or maybe you want to donate money to somebody who spiritually enriched your life. Maybe for if they wanted to donate money to your show, or maybe they wanted to do something in forms of sponsorship, or whatever, or if they wanted to donate money, to a spiritual teacher or a trainer, or coach in any way, and that will help, because anytime you donate money to where you're getting spiritually enriched, then the universe repays that. And the other thing is you need to realize that really that you're not separate from God. There is no time and space where you end and I begin, or vice versa. And the same is true with that of God. And so if or whatever you choose to call it, the creator, universal mind, God energy, whatever. People use different labels for everything. And that's the other thing is try to stay away from labels. If you were ever diagnosed ADD or ADHD, I tend to disagree with the structuring of society and needing to label everything. And I say on my Facebook page that labels are for cans and not your fellow man. And I truly believe that. Even the label of, say, homosexuality, or pagan, or a witch, or anything, they all tend to come with either negative connotations or negative conditioned connotations, with that. And I think the more you stray away from that and release that stuff and see yourself as a divine being who's really here for a purpose, and what that purpose is really up to you to figure out. And it's whatever your passion is, whatever you could wake up every day and sacrifice a paycheck, but you can really enjoy the work, then that's your passion. And if you're following your passion and you're living in the moment, and all the other stuff will happen. The money will follow. Happiness will be there, because you're announcing to the universe, look, this is who I am, and all other things will fall into alignment.
It's funny you should say that, because I did the experience of standing up in front of a crowd once and saying, I'm not a gay male, I'm a soul. But what I had realized is the more and more I said who I was, the more and more that's who I was going to be around. And not that that's a problem, but when I said I'm a soul, or a spiritual being, then souls just started coming around me. And an example of that is you, because you and I have talked on Facebook, very briefly, and then as a result of that conversation, I met somebody else, and the result of that supplies all the souls that I meet on the show. So, that's the divine order of things. And
it's about helping people, and I think at one point you had asked me if I knew any good publicists, and that's where I referred to you, a person. But the thing is it's about giving. If I didn't give you that name, you wouldn't have. You would have been struggling to get a lot of these guests on your show or whatever. And but if I thought to myself, well, he's in the same stuff is crap. You just need to give, and everything else will fall into alignment, you know, and, you know, because who knows, maybe one day we'll share the stage together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about making a difference, making an impact, and who's, you know, who you have to help, or, you know, in the meantime, or who you're working with. I mean, it's about creating a higher caliber society for everybody to live in, for your children to live in, or for other people to grow up in. And, you know, increasing awareness is how that happens. So if it was, you know, me going, well, you know, technically he's a competitor, but let me just give a name, you know, and it was what it was. And, you know, now I'm on your show, you know, lots of things are happening, hopefully as a result of the show. So, you know, it's always about not acting from, you know, well, how am I going to benefit from this? You know, if you have an answer for somebody, give the answer, you know. I mean, a lot of information now is free, even if it's a paid thing where a lot of people, you know, say there's hackers out there that know how to get information for free, you know. So, you know, if you have information and you have a message or you've had an experience, you know, share that with people. You know, if you feel like that experience made a difference in your life, odds are there's other people going through that same exact thing, that if you share that message, you know, you could transform their lives as well, as easy as it happened for you, you know. And the good thing is they didn't have to, you know, endure it as long as you maybe, and you were able to go through that. I mean, I've gone through a lot of negative stuff in my life, but one of the biggest lessons I ever learned was, you know, only one person attends a pity party, and even that person doesn't want to be there. You know, so you could moan and groan about how life isn't working for you, but you know, it's not life isn't working for you. It's you're not creating life for yourself. Yeah. You're not living in the moment. You're not embracing the gift that you have. And like I said, most people think that, you know, oh well, you know, I'm not. There's no sense of urgency. Well, the thing is like I said earlier, you know, we could die at any moment, and a lot of people wait until that diagnosis has been made. But again, it happened in the beginning of you know, the first time you were conceived is when life started for you. You know, and so did the death process. So, you know, at what point do you really need to wait for a diagnosis of cancer to say, well, you know what, I'm going to seize every day from now on? No, you want to enjoy every moment up to the very last, you know, and know that at that point it's a continuation, but it's also a continuation for you, but you've left a legacy for other people.
Right. Yep.
And you've made a difference.
Yeah, and when you really, it's funny because when you look at the cancer, it's cells not communicating with each other. So to me, it's cells not working and living in the now of the moment. You know, because it's blocking flow. You know, or whatever you want to call it. So, you know,
well, and then again, it's no wonder that isn't like the number one killer of everybody is cancer right now. And you know, like you're saying, that cancer is, you know, the vast majority of it is because cells aren't communicating with one another, but neither are people.
True.
You know, we live in a society where, like, this is supposed to be like the information age, and everybody's supposed to, you know, do all this and that. But, you know, the thing is it all means nothing if you can't effectively communicate, and if you can't share space with people and realize that there's a divine presence in everybody that is the same as you. And, you know, even if it's a matter, okay, well, this person does something different, don't see that. Oh, that's your conditioning to see, you know, that thing. You have to see what's the divine aspect of this person, and you know, how can you help them or raise their awareness, or, you know, and it's always about being in service. And I think that's the biggest and best calling that anybody could ever do is, you know, serve others. And as long as they're doing that and they're following their passion, money, happiness, wealth, fame, fortune, all that stuff will follow.
It all comes in. Yeah, it falls in the flow. Because the universe brings you exactly how you are, or where you're at.
Right.
What you feel.
And that's why most people, when you hear live in the moment, or live from the end result, and a lot of people go, how the hell am I supposed to live from the end result when I have no money to begin with, and it's money that I'm trying to create? What it's saying is, live with that mentality. Like, don't hesitate, swiping the card, or don't hesitate if like I said to you during the break, or I don't know if we were live at the time, but if there's a little old lady, at the counter and she's counting pennies, and you have $1 or $2 or $3 or whatever, and that's all that, don't be hesitant in giving that. Or, this year, whether you believe in, Christmas per se as it is, or whatever you want to believe in, it's this really the spirit of giving. And when you hear those, charity bells going off, every time you walk in and out of the store, I see a lot of people will go the opposite way to avoid them. And I can understand in part because, like, I tend not to carry a, receipts out. And it's just a matter of if you want to make a difference for yourself, it's about causing it for another person, living from the end result, creating a vision board or a mind or whatever it is that will help you get where you need to be going, or to feel like you're already there. And a lot of it starts with a lot of what I've said, starting with abundance, starting with creating a gratitude list. What's everything in your life that you have to be grateful for? Experiences, and even, you can even say, well, what are some of the bad experiences? And then you go, well, what did I learn from this experience? How did I grow from this experience? And now when you think about that bad experience, you link it with the growth instead of just the bad experience. Yeah. It will change your whole dynamic.
Yep. You're changing your thoughts and you're changing your life. How you feel about yourself. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back and wrap up the show with William. And so just be right back in about 1 minute. So just bear with us 1 second. Okay, guys, and I just want to wrap up the show here. It's about 11:50, and we're going to take a few minutes here to wrap up with William. I just wanted to give you guys his website one more time. I've got it's www.drwilliamconstantine. That's WilliamConstantine.com. You can also find him on Facebook at www.facebook.com /Dr.William.Constantine. And you can contact him at his toll-free number at 877-676-2646 to schedule an appointment with him. And he's obviously getting a lot of wisdom from his life, and got a very strong connection to Source and to Spirit. So I just want to take a couple minutes, William, if there's any points that we didn't maybe bring up, that you wanted to bring up about our subject today. If you want to take a couple minutes to talk about that really quick.
No, not really. I mean, I just thank people like you for doing shows like this to raise awareness for others and to give answers and provide answers for those who are maybe struggling and have really no place to turn or feel like they don't have a place to turn, and for building communities like this where you're sharing information.
Yeah.
Because without people like you, the world would be a far more desolate place.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to take a second to thank you for being on the show, and Sorry I never got to meet you while you were in Florida, but I got to meet you now. And so, and enjoy cooking today, and have a wonderful Christmas. And I guess we'll wrap up from there. And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Yep, you
Bye
too.
bye. All right, guys. Just to wrap up real quick, the just a couple things to come up. Like I said, next week we're going to have a show. It's going to be all musicians coming on and talking about their experience. It's going to be live music. We're going to be playing at Sacred Grounds and broadcasting live. Thank you to Karen Lohman for letting us use her space, um, and the blessing that she provides with us to have the community there that we have to be able to experience the arts, experience poetry, and have a safe haven at a place that is a sacred grounds. And you can check her out at sacredgroundstampa.com. I've had many things there. I've had workshops there, retreats there, and she just gives that space with that, freely from her heart. And I just want to thank her for that. Then coming up, you guys can come in if you're in Tampa. Join us live, and if you want to have something to say about 2012 coming up, or just experience that you're having, please contact me on Facebook, or you can contact me through the soultalkradio.org website. The next guest coming up in January is going to be on the 7th of January, and it's going to be Regina Dawn Akers, and she's going to be talking about Shri Ramana, Shri Ramana Maharishi, and her experience of studying that, and there's going to be, several cool guests coming up here within the next few months. I'm very excited about the show and how we're gearing up for 2012 already. And well, that's pretty much it. So I just want to wrap up with some of the things that we were talking about today. There's many, many things that we covered, and one is about how we feel about ourselves. And honestly, guys, there's nothing wrong with whatever you want in the world. If you're passionate about it, then do it. And but if you think that you can't do it, then that's exactly what's going to happen. It's funny because I have my cousin's getting ready to start a business, and at first I just kind of giggled at her, but she's excited about it. She's pumped about it, and it's about going around to lawns and doing pooper scooping on people's lawns. And there's a gentleman down in Boca Raton, Florida, that is doing this business, and he's been in magazines and Better Homes and Gardens and all that other kind of stuff, and on TV, and he's making a good living off of it. Well, he quit his corporate job to do it because his passion was to be of service to people, and also he wanted to be free to be able to not have to work for anybody else. And so my cousin is the same way. She says, what I feel the most passion is when I'm working with people. I'm of service to people. I love service jobs. And she says, and there's nothing wrong with them. And I said, absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with getting out there. And she loves fresh air, and she likes to be with nature, and she loves to talk to people, all that. And so she gets all that interaction. And so, don't demean what you're doing because you think it's bad. If you are passionate about it, then that's all you need to have. And then you drive towards it. You act on the opportunities that are coming from it. And so, it's like Joyce Meyer said once. She goes, never just say, I just am. The person that pours coffee at the church that she speaks at, she said, never just, and they say, I'm just the coffee pourer. Never just say, I'm the coffee pourer. Because what you're giving is a tremendous gift of service. And, we've driven a world based on status, and that's not brings harmony to us. And, but there's also things where we have to value ourselves as well. We have to value what we do. William brought up some really good points when he was talking about it. I brought up the point of psychics, that charge money, and people judge them for charging so much money. And then we were talking about on one of the breaks about, people will come to me and spend, when I was doing the psychic work, and they would come and spend $25 on a 15-minute reading. And then when I would charge them $150 outside of that, they would get upset and think I was charging too much. But the thing is they were unwilling to pay the $150, where they're willing to pay the $25. the thing is what value are they putting on what they're getting? And the 25 and 15 minutes, I couldn't really give them what they needed. But the 150 for the hour or 2 hours I was spending with you, I could. So what was it they really wanted to gain for? They want instant gratification, or they wanting to actually experience something and grow? And so these are things that you really want to take a look at. Other points that William brought up is about gratitude. I love how he brought up the stuff about gratitude. We have to be grateful for everything that we do. I'm grateful for the show. I'm grateful for the listeners. I mean, I just had somebody say something, the most beautiful thing to me on Facebook last night, and brought tears to my eyes. I'm grateful to Francis for saying that. There's just so many things that we want to spend our day looking at what we're grateful about, not about what we're angry about or upset about or complaining about. And we'll change our life from being complainer to grateful if we practice that. And that's what we're doing, is we're practicing. So keep practicing, guys. And, you're going to change a whole lot of things about yourself. And every opportunity that comes up is something that you want to be grateful for. And every opportunity that comes up is going to really help you grow as a person. So I just want to leave you guys with that. And we're going to have a song here by Leah Clark. It's called Those Who Knew Him. And that's how we're going to wrap up the show. Again, check out the website at www.soultalkradio.org, or you can check out Dr. Constantine or drwilliamconstantine.com to know more about William. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I certainly did. I actually learned a lot from it, and we will see you next week. And that's about it. Thank you for listening to Soul Talk.
Us in so many different ways, and though we didn't know it, from that moment on our lives forever changed. He was a man who held the Spirit of God inside, and we were transformed with one look in his eyes. No judgment, just a simple prayer that we would find the love and the power of God that dwells in every human heart and mind. He was a friend, one we knew would always understand, and we were transformed with one touch of his hand. Members of his family, rulers in the city, friends, disciples, strangers too, were among the ones who knew our elder brother Jesus, who revealed God's love to us, and by his actions he has shown the kingdom of God is our heart's true home. It's our hope that through our stories you will recognize the ways we are alike can help us realize we are people shown. The kingdom of God is